A company has customized a foundation model within Amazon Bedrock to improve document summarization for internal use. They now want to make the fine-tuned model available for use across internal teams via Bedrock APIs. What action should the company take next? Correct answer: grant usage permissions for the custom model in Amazon Bedrock. Explanation: when you fine-tune or customize a foundation model in Amazon Bedrock, the result is a custom model managed within the Bedrock environment. To make this custom model accessible to other users, applications, or accounts, you must grant usage permissions in Amazon Bedrock. This enables authorized users to invoke the custom model for inference while keeping management and hosting within the Bedrock ecosystem. Why others are incorrect: purchase provision throughput for the model. Provision throughput ensures consistent and scalable performance for model inference, but it does not provide access control or sharing capability for the model. Deploy the model using an Amazon SageMaker endpoint. SageMaker endpoints are used for SageMaker trained models, not for models fine-tuned or managed in Bedrock. Bedrock abstracts deployment automatically. Register the model in the SageMaker model registry. The model registry is used for tracking and managing SageMaker models, not Bedrock models. Bedrock manages its own model lifecycle. An organization must automatically delete ML data after a set period. Which AWS feature should be used? Correct answer: Amazon S3 Lifecycle Policies. Explanation: Lifecycle policies automatically delete or move S3 objects after a defined time, ideal for retention management. Why others are incorrect: Lambda can delete manually but not automatic lifecycle control. Lex used for chatbots. Model tuning optimizes ML models, unrelated to retention. A retail marketing team wants to prevent certain words like competitor names from appearing in AI-generated promotional content. What prompting technique is this? Correct answer: negative prompting. Explanation: negative prompting instructs the model on what not to include in its output. Why others are incorrect: few shot provides examples of desired outputs. Zero shot, no examples, just a direct prompt. Chain of thought encourages step-by-step reasoning. A company is improving chatbot intent detection using few-shot learning with an LLM. What data should be provided for training? Correct answer: pairs of user messages and correct user intents. Explanation: few-shot learning examples must show the model how user inputs map to intents to improve intent recognition. Why others are incorrect: all other pairs don't align user inputs with their intended meaning directly. A researcher wants to adapt a pre-trained ML model for a new domain-specific task with limited labeled data. Which approach is best? Correct answer: fine-tuning with labeled data from the new domain. Explanation: fine-tuning efficiently adapts a pre-trained model to a new domain, especially when labeled data is limited. Why others are incorrect: continued pre-training, useful for domain expansion, but less effective without labels. Using as is, won't adapt to new data domain. Training from scratch requires far more data and resources. Which AWS services are regional in scope? Correct answers: AWS Lambda and AWS Recognition. Explanation: Lambda functions are deployed within an AWS region. You must choose the region when creating a function, and it runs only in that region unless you replicate it. Recognition is tied to a specific AWS region. When you use the API, you must specify the region endpoint because images and videos are processed and stored regionally. Why others are incorrect: AWS Identity and Access Management, Global Service. IAM operates globally across all regions in your AWS account. Users, roles, and policies apply universally, not regionally. Amazon CloudFront, Global Service. CDN uses a worldwide network of edge locations, not confined to a single region. AWS WAF, global or regional depending on usage. AWS WAF can be associated with CloudFront, that is global or regional resources like an application load balancer. However, by default and most common usage with CloudFront makes it global in scope. A developer needs a solution to store vector embeddings generated from text data for semantic search and similarity queries. Which AWS service should be used? Correct answer: Amazon OpenSearch with KNN. Explanation: Amazon OpenSearch supports K-nearest neighbor, KNN, search, which enables semantic search and vector similarity. You can store embeddings from text, images, or audio and perform similarity queries efficiently, ideal for LLM-powered search. Why others are incorrect: Amazon Document DB, for document storage, not optimized for vector embeddings. Amazon Poly, used for text-to-speech, unrelated to vector search. Amazon DynamoDB, a key-value/NoSQL store, not designed for vector similarity queries. Which AWS service records and monitors all API activities, including those related to AI infrastructure? Correct answer: AWS CloudTrail. Explanation: AWS CloudTrail provides detailed logging and tracking of all API calls made in your AWS environment, helping you monitor and audit access to AI and other AWS services. Why others are incorrect: AWS Config tracks resource configuration changes, not API activity. Amazon Macie focuses on PII detection, not API auditing. Amazon Inspector performs security scans, not API logging. What is a key advantage of in-context learning compared to fine-tuning? Correct answer: it's cheaper and doesn't need retraining. Explanation: in-context learning lets models adapt to tasks on the fly using examples in the prompt, without retraining or modifying model weights, saving cost and time. Why others are incorrect: GPU scaling is unrelated to in-context learning. Model weights are not updated in in-context learning. It may not always improve accuracy, depends on prompt design. What's the main benefit of using Amazon SageMaker Studio for AI and ML development? Correct answer: provides a web-based IDE with built-in ML tools. Explanation: Amazon SageMaker Studio offers an integrated, browser-based IDE to build, train, tune, and deploy ML models, streamlining the end-to-end workflow. Why others are incorrect: Amazon SageMaker doesn't handle Bedrock prompts. IAM permissions are managed separately. Embedding creation is done within models, not Studio itself. Why do organizations adopt retrieval augmented generation instead of relying solely on a foundation model's internal knowledge? Correct answer, to improve grounding in real or private data. Explanation, RAG enhances LLM responses by combining model reasoning with retrieved, up-to-date, or proprietary information, improving accuracy and relevance. Why others are incorrect, GPU needs are unaffected. Blue relates to translation quality, not grounding. Explainability may improve but isn't the core goal. A finance firm wants to trace which dataset trained a model for governance and compliance. Which AWS feature supports this? Correct answer, model cards. Explanation, Amazon SageMaker model cards record critical details, datasets used, training metrics, and intended use, supporting model governance and transparency. Why others are incorrect, Amazon Translate, is for language translation. Amazon Kendra, handles enterprise search. Amazon Poly, performs text-to-speech. Which type of ML training uses labeled input-output pairs? Correct answer, supervised learning. Explanation, supervised learning relies on labeled data to teach models to predict outputs used for classification, regression, etc. Why others are incorrect, federated learning, trains models across devices without sharing data. Reinforcement learning, uses rewards, not labeled data. Unsupervised learning, works with unlabeled data. A company wants to extract plain text from thousands of PDF resumes for automation. Which AWS service should they use? Correct answer, Amazon Textract. Explanation, Amazon Textract automatically extracts text and data from documents, ideal for resume parsing and automation. Why others are incorrect, Amazon Lex, handles conversational chatbots. Amazon Personalize, builds recommendation systems. Amazon Transcribe, converts speech to text. A company is reporting ML model insights to executives. To ensure transparency and explainability, what should be included? Correct answer, partial dependence plots, PDPs. Explanation, PDPs visualize the effect of individual features on model predictions, improving interpretability and stakeholder understanding. Why others are incorrect, convergence tables show training progress, not interpretability. Sharing training data risks privacy issues. Code adds technical details, not transparency for non-technical audiences. A social media company uses an LLM for content moderation and wants to check for bias or discrimination in outputs. Which data source would require the least setup effort? Correct answer, benchmark datasets. Explanation, using standard bias benchmark datasets provides pre-labeled evaluation material, reducing setup and ensuring consistent bias assessment. Why others are incorrect, moderation logs, require manual labeling. User-generated content, may introduce noise and privacy concerns. Moderation policies, guidelines define rules, not data for testing bias. A company wants an AI model to flag unusual or suspicious IP addresses accessing its app. What kind of model should they build? Correct answer, anomaly detection system. Explanation, anomaly detection identifies unusual patterns or deviations from normal behavior, perfect for spotting suspicious access activity. Why others are incorrect. Named entity recognition extracts entities from text, not patterns. Speech recognition system is irrelevant here. Fraud forecasting model is predictive, not anomaly based. A data science team creates visualizations, correlations, and statistics from new data before modeling. Which ML pipeline stage is this? Correct answer, exploratory data analysis, EDA. Explanation, EDA involves visualizing, summarizing, and exploring data to uncover insights and detect anomalies before modeling. Why others are incorrect. Feature engineering transforms variables. Hyperparameter tuning optimizes model hyperparameters. Data pre-processing cleans or normalizes data. A model gives nearly identical outputs even when inputs vary slightly. Which parameter can be tuned to make it more creative? Correct answer, temperature. Explanation, in LLMs, temperature controls randomness in output generation. Higher values produce more diverse and creative responses. Why others are incorrect. Epochs affect training duration, not inference creativity. Learning rate influences weight updates during training. Batch size controls sample grouping in training, unrelated to creativity. A loan approval model performs better for urban applicants since training data had more such examples. What bias is this? Correct answer, sampling bias. Explanation, sampling bias occurs when the dataset doesn't represent all groups fairly, leading to skewed model performance. Why others are incorrect. Observer bias stems from subjective human judgment. Algorithm bias arises from flawed algorithms, not data imbalance. Recency bias prioritizes newer data, not uneven sampling. A company expanding its use of AI wants clear guidelines, oversight, and accountability. Which AI principle is most relevant? Correct answer, governance. Explanation, AI governance establishes frameworks for ethical use, accountability, and transparency in AI systems. Why others are incorrect. Bias prevention, a sub-aspect of governance. Accuracy and reliability focuses on model quality, not oversight. Data protection relates to security, not governance. A law firm wants to use LLMs to extract key points from lengthy legal documents. Which approach best fits this need? Correct answer, develop a summarization chatbot. Explanation, a summarization chatbot built using LLMs can read large text passages and extract main points effectively, ideal for legal documents. Why others are incorrect. Translation system, used for language translation, not summarization. Named entity recognition, extracts entities like names, dates, not summaries. Recommendation engine, suggests items, not summaries. A company is developing a customer support chatbot using an Amazon Bedrock LLM for intent detection. To enhance the chatbot's accuracy through few-shot learning, what kind of example data should the company include in the model prompts? Correct answer, user messages paired with their correct intents. Explanation, in few-shot learning, the model learns from a few examples provided directly in the prompt. To improve intent detection, the model must learn how specific user messages map to intents. These examples help the LLM generalize and identify similar intents in future conversations. Why other are incorrect, user intents map to correct chatbot replies. This is relevant for response generation, not intent detection. It doesn't train the model to identify user intent. Chatbot responses linked to correct user intents, the direction is reversed. The model should learn from user inputs, not its own outputs. User messages paired with chatbot responses, this helps with response generation, not intent classification, so it won't improve intent detection accuracy. A company has large amounts of unlabeled customer data and wants to categorize customers for targeted advertising. Which learning method should be used? Correct answer, unsupervised learning. Explanation, unsupervised learning groups data without labels, ideal for segmentation. Why others are incorrect, reinforcement learning, involves rewards, not clustering. Supervised learning, needs labeled data. RLHF, used for fine-tuning LLMs, not customer segmentation. A customer service chatbot uses an LLM in Amazon Bedrock. It needs to recall context from earlier in the conversation. What's the best solution? Correct answer, add previous messages to the model prompt. Explanation, LLMs are stateless, so past conversation history must be re-included in the prompt for continuity. Why others are incorrect, provision throughput, increases speed, not memory. Invocation logs, store data, not conversational context. Personalize, used for recommendations, not chat memory.